Hello. Oh, wow, that's really loud. Hi. Perfect start. So, welcome to the second day. We are going to start with our special session. So, I'm really happy that so many people woke up in time. So, that's great. The title of the session is Collecting Data for Trade Statistics, the NSI and Business Perspective. And we have 3 presentations. So, as yesterday, each presentation will take 15 minutes, then we have 8 minutes discussion, and we see if we have 5 minutes left for a general discussion. Stay tuned for that, I guess. So the first speaker is Hanne Pernille Steks from Statistics Denmark, and she will present designing a new reporting solution for Intrastats in Statistics Denmark. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, so we are presenting 3 related presentations today, and I'm going to make a very soft start because I have questions and reflections and no results and no decisions. So maybe I get some suggestions from you. So what I'll take you through is, how do we do Intrastat in Statistics Denmark, our current reporting solutions, which is called IDEP, different data about this solution, user evaluation, user behavior, support issues, and we are considering to do in these situations. And then if you don't have any questions for me, maybe you have some suggestions and learnings of your own that you would like to share. Okay? So Intrastat in Statistics Denmark, a data collection for Intrastat and for the trade in EU trade and services account for 25% of all reports to Statistics Denmark. So it's sort of massively huge burden-wise. Also, the reports to ITG are large, some of them. They have maybe a large amount of repeated lines, but they're very well structured, so it's just a fixed set of data points for each commodity. As many of you probably know, many or some enterprises have set up systems internally to produce a file to make it easier to report to Intrastat. And at the moment, they submit their reports via IDEP. And they may choose to either enter the data manually into a lot of fields or upload a file or do both. Sort of the overall picture of the burden, we have implemented microdata exchange, and we're going to hear more about that later in this session. And that has enabled us to reduce the number of reports for ITG with just about 40%. So not as many reports as we had, but still many reports. The ITG ones would be the blue ones, dark blue ones over time. So we have this IDEP application. I don't know if you know it. Some of you may, if you're old enough. It was commissioned by Eurostat in 1992. It was developed by a company called Revolux. The aim was to provide a communal solution for this survey that could be used in all countries, which make a lot of sense because we all have to collect the same data for the same statistics. 15 member states have been using IDEP, but most of you have left. And build other applications, and now we're 4 countries back, Sweden, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Denmark. We still use it. And a couple of years ago, Revolux announced that now they will cease their current operation. They're sort of keeping it afloat, but not developing it further. We have the source code, so we could continue with the IDEP code if we wanted to. But then, of course, we're looking into the IDEP application, see what to do. Should we replace it? Should we do something else? And I'm not going to take you through how it looks, but just very briefly show you. It's very complex. There's a lot of buttons. It's been developed over many years. A lot of things has been added. There's a lot of flexibility and maybe not so much structure and to it. So it's like, you have buttons and fields and possibilities and links, different overviews of this and that. So it's not like not a favorite solution to say, okay, we'll just take it over and continue. So yeah, it's complex. It's complex to maintain. It's complex to use. The technology is approaching end of life. So we need a new reporting solution. And now we're looking into all the data we can to see what do we need to replace and what could we maybe scrap or do something different with. And we are, of course, also looking to other NSIs for inspiration. So we have a lot of data. We haven't actually sought new data. We're looking into the data we have. And we have user evaluations for all our reporting solutions. So every time you make a report, you can access a link and make an evaluation. The most cited issues from enterprises is that they don't have the information we're asking for. So nothing about the solution at all. It's hard to find commodity codes. That's a big one. It's hard to find amounts or weigh things. If you haven't weighed them beforehand, a country of origin might be a problem too. Searching for commodity codes is too difficult, laborious. And you can't store and retrieve information about if you have the same buyer every time in the same country buying the same stuff, you have to sort of enter that in. And then the complexity. It's very hard to navigate. It's very hard for new reporters. There's a lot of things you can choose between, but it's very hard to know what to do. And there's too many ways to do the same thing. And this is sort of an overview of the user evaluation. You can't see that, but the ones that are sort of reddest are the worst ones, and that would be retrieving information, correct data if they're wrong, and preparing files. And it's the same for export and import, which we have here. So the user behavior, what do enterprises actually do when they use IDEP? It's possible to upload a file, and we would think most companies would do that, but actually 40% don't. They just enter the data manually. I think that you have the same results in CVS. For import, around 40%, for export, also 40%. And then the smallest companies with the least export, even 60%. They just enter the data manually. They don't use all this fancy functionality in the application. Nil declarations actually takes up quite a lot of space. So even this very fancy application that can do everything for you, a lot of the companies just enter it to say no, and they have to find out how to do that. So that would be 3.5% of imports, and 66% of the exports, and even 10% from the smaller exporters. So again, it's maybe, yeah, there's a lot of complexity for some simple user needs. Replacement declarations doesn't take up that much space, but still some companies do that. We also register or record all support issues from any report, and the ones that we can see in IDEP is problems with logging in. It has its own login systems where all other reports to Statistics Denmark use a different way. Access for third party is handled in a different way. Nil declarations should be very easy, should take no time, but it takes some time to find out how to do that. Finding commodity codes, again, we get that, and changes in commodity codes from year to year. Navigating IDEP, especially for new respondents, they get lost and don't know where to go. Correcting of errors, and this is just a heat map, and you're not supposed to understand anything about the black line are surveys that we use IDEP for, and above, below the black line are mostly place questionnaires. And we see that content is an issue for all the IDEP application, but you can also see that issues relating to the application take up a lot of space compared to all the other applications we have. So it's sort of system issues. So, we have a lot of time. So what do we do? Should we recreate this application now because we have to let the old one die? Should we simplify it? Should we go for automation? Or should we just wait? And I think all these options are actually valid and being considered in Statistics Denmark. So to take a more top-down approach, this is a crude illustration of what we called our stairway to automation. On the bottom step, we have questionnaires where each enterprise will log into a questionnaire, fill in the information manually, and send it to us. Step two, which is a little bit more advanced, then the enterprises can sort of compose a file and upload the data to us, so they don't have to type in every little piece of information. That would be the current IDEP application now. If we move further up, then we're looking into more automated data transfer from the companies where they actually don't do anything, but they set up their systems to deliver the data to us. And then above the blue line, even more automated systems where we have central data providers that might supply us with information about many companies. Vida might be sort of a dream solution there, and I think a central data provider might be, as in Portugal, you get it for someone else. They get the blame for the burden and you just get the data. So, of course, you know, it would hurt us a little bit to spend a lot of time and money on recreating a solution on the second step of the ladder. Should we, you know, make an advanced solution on step 1 or 2, or should we do something else? So that's that's a hard life. But yeah, we're looking into, should we create a new standalone application like the IDEP thing? Or should we make a simpler version using our Blaze, which we use at the moment, which is just a questionnaire builder? Should we make a simple file upload solution? We have that for some data collections. If we have very experienced report respondents, and we do because they do this every month of their life, or should we go for more automated reporting? And if we're looking into a sort of more like an API reporting solution, we're looking into could we actually build a taxonomy with all the information that we need from the largest companies to cover more than one statistic? So they would go from, I don't know, 75 deadlines a year to maybe 12 deadlines a year, where they sort of give us all the information and they might even check it before they send it. Yeah. Or should we just wait and see what will Vida bring us? Might we get information enough to have less needs for collecting Introstat data from the enterprises? So what are we doing in the meantime? We're actually looking into whether we should reconsider, should we have one solution for all respondents for Introstat? In Statistics Denmark, we have 65 individual reporting solutions to cover all the reports that we receive. And we receive 5 yearly reports on some solutions and 40,000 on one. And then we have the ITG solution, where we have one solution to cover these 65,000 reports from over 5,000 enterprises. So it might be an idea to see, should we build more and less complex reporting solutions? And at the moment, we're sort of building a new solution for the ProdCom, which was also in IDEP, and we actually do this. We improve the text search for commodity codes, which is a big burden driver, and then we make a very simple solution for companies with few lines. Yeah, and if we look into to Introstat, then a lot of the reports have less than 50, 25 lines. So they do type in this information manually now. So maybe we could just make a simple reporting solution for them, and we could pre-fill all the information from last time in this reporting solution. Yeah, and then we will supply it with a simple upload for the enterprises with more lines. And then, of course, we're looking into this integrated API to go across more surveys. And then I don't have anything more because that's where we are. But maybe you have some questions for me or suggestions or whatever.
All right. Thank you for being perfectly in time. So now we have 8 minutes for questions, and I see over here, direct the first one.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting because we were in Portugal. We were user of the ADA for 12, 13 years. I don't know. So we were happy with the solution at that time, but we fear about the control. So we developed a similar copy of EDAP using our integrated system. I was happy to see that the upload is very appreciated by the
I can hear you.
this automated solution or keep using the upload with so high solutions. It's completely different. So I would like to hear from you. Do you have any thoughts about this automation instead of uploading? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think automation is what is being called for from all sides. And maybe it's being called for also from enterprises that may not have considered the work you need to do to make yourself ready for automation. So I think our perspective would be that it would make a lot of sense for the companies who are of a type where you say, you will never get out of this. You will have to make this report every month, every year, every whatever, as long as you stay in business. And they might have an incentive to invest in preparing themselves for an automated solution. But it's not going to cover all the needs we have for data, only from the large enterprises. That would be my thoughts. Unless it was legislation driven and you had to do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The third parties can play a very important role here.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
All right, I think we have still time for another question or two. So are there any? Yeah. Are you okay?
Did you ever think to perform a joint data collection with the fiscal authorities for for foreign trade, for instance, data? In Italy, we have the custom authorities collecting data for both fiscal purposes and statistical purposes for Intrastat. We don't know if it will go on forever, this joint data collection, but it was very convenient for enterprises, and they have the advantage that they had already the fiscal partner ID in their data, which is of fiscal relevance there. Did you ever think about moving to a cooperation with fiscal authorities to collect international trade data?
Thank you. We did, and we actually did do it, and we did it in IDEP. Yeah. But for different solutions or reasons, mostly integration between the IDEP solution and the fiscal authorities, it stopped working a couple of years ago, and enterprises are actually asking for it because they really like that. But the fiscal solution now, and companies prefer the IDEP solution. I have to say that, yeah. But we did, and of course, we would have to take that into consideration when we finally decide what to do if we should proceed in that direction again.
This is collecting twice the same data in a certain sense for the fiscal purposes. So you don't need all the statistical variables, however, to have to indicate the invoice value and the fiscal partner used also for statistical purposes.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us about looking into that again.
Okay. Do you have a question?
I do. So thank you for your presentation. So the first thing that I noticed, you mentioned that the partner IDs are not, you can't store them in the IDEP solution, but we can in the Netherlands. So either that's not a feature that we have and you don't, or it is actually possible.
Yeah, you can store quite a lot of stuff in the IDEP solution. You can store commodity codes and you can store favorite lines and stuff, but some of the enterprises cannot find out how to do it. And of course, the partner ID is a newer requirement in the IDEP or in Introstat, and we get a lot of questions about why can't you do this, and I'm saying, well, you can, but you have to do this and this and this. So it is possible, but it's not easy. And what we know from other reporting solution is if we have just pre-fill, we pre-fill what did you report last time, but we take out the value and the amount, and then you have to tell us how much did you sell this month to the exact same receivers. So it's sort of pre-filled and you can see it before you start. Thank you.
All right. You see, like, question?
I do, if there's time.
Yeah, for a short one. Short one, we can do it.
Okay, so you mentioned in the paper that the potential new solution won't have any validations in the file. So validations are a blessing and a curse for businesses. So any idea how that will go down with them?
It's a new solution for the Prodcom survey, where I can't remember the percentage, but it's like 90 some have very few lines, and they will use the questionnaire, and it has built-in validation. The enterprises with many lines will use a very simple upload, where they send in a file to us, and what we have decided is having more one-to-one support, helping out the businesses, making contact afterwards, and sort of teaching them how to make a file will make the job, will do the job, we hope, we don't know yet, but it will also make reporting easier for the companies. And these will be trained, experienced respondents that know how to do this. So if we sort of, learn how to make the file correct, they won't be stopped every time they, So, but it's a big worry in the statistical department.
All right, I think we have to move on, but thank you again for your great presentation. So the next presenter is Maria Serena Cosso from the National Institute for Statistics Italy, and she's presenting Intrastat redesign at EESW25. So when the presentation is ready, you have 50 minutes. Perfect.
So thank you very much. My presentation is focused on the redesign of Intrastat at ISTAT, and especially on the measure taken in order to reduce burden on respondents. I'll give a background on which this work was done and what is the problem. And then we'll discuss about the implemented solution. So which data sources were available and we used, which methods were applied, how the hypotheses were tested, and at the end, how we are planning to estimate auto-sample trade in this new burden-reduced framework. So this is the background. There was a huge commitment from the European statistical system to modernize all the processes, but in particular Intrastat, which is huge, which induces a huge burden on respondents. So under the Vision 2020 program, this modernization process started, taking advantage for digital transformation, and we will see that there is a digital transformation going on in the VAT fiscal system, and new data sources available in this framework of digital transformation. And then there was also a growth of data ecosystem we shared among the national statistical institutes in order to reuse microdata collected in different member states. And this enhanced the interoperability of systems and pushed toward harmonization of methods and tools and the adoption of common standards in the European statistical system. And on the other hand, there's this long-standing problem of the burden and the Intrastat survey, which was implemented in 1993 when the single market was established and took the place of the administrative burden associated to custom declarations. And there are in the EU, there are many huge number of businesses involved in the survey, are in the sample of each member state. So it is at the European level the largest survey involving the huge number of enterprises. And there is a problem. So the problem is that the same transaction is collected and reported twice at European level, once in the exporting member state and once in the importing member state, if both exporter and importer are in the samples in the respective member states. So there's this additional redundancy, let's say, of data collection at European level. And moreover, this gives also rise to asymmetries because importer and exporter can codify the same transaction in a different way. For instance, giving different classification codes for products or even for partner countries for export and import country of the good. So the European solution, which was put in place in 2022 was an exchange of microdata collected in each member state for export. So export collected the national samples is shared on a monthly basis and sent to a data hub, which is located in Eurostat. And then importing member state can download data which are connected to their imports, and they are this microdata, export microdata can be reused for the compilation of imports by the receiving member state, respecting the once only principle, and in principle also reducing asymmetry, because for each transaction there's only one data source, let's say, no ambiguity, no asymmetries. So this is the first alternative data source for compiling imports and reducing burden on imports. However, we could not take this data source as it is because such microdata exchange are collected on samples of exporters in each member state. There's no guarantee that all the trade of an importer in our sample, in our present sample, is covered by such data, because the importer can have transaction trade with exported in the samples of other member states, but also from exporters which are out of the sample of the exporting member state. So we need another data source which gives us the total trade of the importer, which we would like not to have in our sample. And this data source was recently available. So tax administration are going through a modernization process as well. And this process will be concluded at European level by 2030. But in Italy, the system is already in place since a few years, and the Istat started receiving this digital reporting, so it's real-time, let's say, reporting of VAT transaction, cross-border transaction with partners in the European Union. So this is completing the scope of Intrastat, and so these data are very timely, even more timely than with respect to our collected data, which we have received at after 28 days after the end of the reference month. So such fiscal data are even more timely than Interstat data, and they are complete, timely, but of course they fulfill a fiscal scope, so only invoice value can be used. We don't have anything about product code, country of origin, means of transport, all statistical variables, net mass, all statistical variables are missing. We have only invoiced total trade. And moreover, some transactions are not recorded. Goods for processing is reported under services, and can not be distinguished from other services. And non-resident traders are exempted. This is because in VIDA system in the future, national authorities will exchange such fiscal data. So non-resident economic operators will not have to perform other obligation in other times running in other member states, will not have the obligation to register in other member states. So what the solution which is implemented is still an ongoing work. Our solution is to use a mixed system, statistical and administrative data sources together. So microdata exchange give us the breakdown by product, country of origin, all statistical variables, and the total trade is given by the invoice reported in the digital reporting system. So the fiscal data source gives us the universal, let's say, of the import transaction of the importer, and the details are retrieved from microdata exchange. And so in this way, we built a proxy of the import that we would like to exempt from responding to the Interstat survey, which is essentially the total trade reported in the VAT system, broken down by product and country or by all statistical variables according to the microdata exchange received from the other national statistical institutes. And then we have to, for processing, the only data source that we have are the microdata exchanged, and the same for non-resident traders. The only data source we can use are the microdata which are exchanged. So this is our preliminary work. Samples, Interstat samples are basically cut-off samples. Economic operators which trade above a certain threshold are in the sample, have to report, while all the other ones are exempted from the survey. And the present threshold in Italy is 350,000 euros quarterly. And we simulated the different higher cutoff threshold scenarios in order to see how this proxy was representing the total trade of this set of operators, economic operators, units, which would be exempted with these higher thresholds. So in this table, you can see the result concerning two higher thresholds, 1 million euro thresholds and 2 million euro thresholds quarterly. So you can see the simulation was performed on several months. Yeah, and this is the number of traders exempted in this hypothesis, and the difference between the proxy import and the current reported Interstat import is very limited, and is even better with the higher thresholds. And then we have to modelize how this proxy is related to the true statistical value, and we the simplest idea is that a linear relationship between the two variables. And indeed, it was a good model. The linear model is a good model. And this is the fit of the model for a specific month for all the traders above the current threshold. And then we simulated what would happen with the higher threshold. The linear relationship still hold the limited number of observation because we are exempting 10,000 economic operators over 14,000 economic operators. But the parameters of the regression are stable. They do not depend so much on the threshold. And this is a good news, which allows us to estimate, to think about estimating total trade statistical value from proxy using the estimated parameters from traders above the threshold, so the ones which will go on reporting. So estimating such parameters and applying to the proxy for the traders below the threshold will give us the total trade of the exempt traders. And that's it, conclusions. So the result is that the intercepting is compatible with the origin axis, and the angular coefficient of the linear model is very close to 1. And that the good news is that the stability also of these parameters, but for each reference map, they are not very sensitive to the different threshold, so they are compatible. And this is still an ongoing work. We have to explore what happens on time series for products if we have break of series. And we do not have much time because we plan to set a higher threshold already for January 2020, 26, yes, next year. So a lot of work still to be done and a few time left.
Thank you very much for this presentation. So, has anybody any questions, suggestions, opinions? Yeah.
Thank you. The micro is working. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have two questions, one related with e-invoice and other related with VAT data flows,
Yeah.
especially in concerning the invoice. I assume that your system by invoice has the item level of a transaction, so it's crucial for the use of Interstat, and you have to codify or to classify the item according to many points of view. So what kind of challenge do you think that is the most important to using the invoice in Interstat? Is the first question. The second question is the use of VAT in order to balance and to check if there is coherence between the data, even for MDA in the future. Thank you.
Yes. So there are huge limits in the use of the invoicing system. So there is no codification for product. There's a open text field for describe the product, but this field is not transmitted to ISTAT, and there's also privacy issue on the description of the goods which are traded. What do we have is the VAT number of our importer, the VAT number of the exporter in the other member state. So we know where the good comes from. But however, also this information is biased from the from the fiscal need. So in case of a triangular trade, where the good indeed comes from third country, which is different from the country in which the exporter is fiscally located. So we do not have information about the export country, the real export country. One has to be careful in using this information about the partner country which is present in the invoices. Actually, in our implementation, we are not going to use it. We are going to use it just for checking MD data. Yes, it's a good optimal data source. Of course, this is the second question for checking what we are collecting in the statistical data sources. So the fiscal data sources is the main way to check what you are collecting in your own data collection system, or what you are receiving in the other statistical data source in the exchange microdata. Moreover, there's another thing to consider. This invoicing system, as it will be implemented at European level, will cover surely the export. Not all countries will ask their report to implement it also for import. So Italy is in a lucky situation in which we have a lot of administrative fiscal burden. So we do have this data, but it's not sure that the other member state will have this data source for data compilation of imports. They will have a data source for data compilation of export. And the other fact is that it's not planned at European level to increase the fiscal burden, so they are not going to accept to insert the combined nomenclature codes for product in the invoicing system. So Eurostat is at present in touch with DigiTaxud in order to find a common ground that satisfied both needs, but there's no such perspective because they want to keep at the minimum level the burden, the fiscal burden, so not to add additional variables.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one question. Do you want? Okay.
So thank. Yes, right. Okay, sorry. So I have one question, more clarification. So I heard you mention something from the sample. When is the deadline for the sample to report on Intrastat?
It's 25 days after the end of the reference month. And at present, the data collection is performed by custom authorities. And so they send us data at 28, 29 days after the end of the reference month. And then there is the obligation to send microdata. So in 1 day, we have the deadline is 30 days. So we have 1-2 days to make a rough data editing and then send the microdata to our partner member states for just to feed the microdata exchange process. So it's a huge work going on.
Because in the Netherlands, one of the majority of the complaints that we hear about Intrastat is in the Netherlands, they have to, the deadline is 10 working days after.
Wow.
So businesses are really complaining about, we don't have this data ready, it's a really busy time of the month, so can we delay it? So they are really complaining. So really curious how.
Yeah, it's very strict for us. No, they have 25 days and we are compressed in 2 days.
Right, did I oversee Pascal? Do you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Thank you. Very quickly, Serena, you reported that one of the key goals of the redesign you described is to reduce the response burden. How significant do you expect this reduction will be?
Yeah, indeed, in these simulations, we are going to adopt the higher threshold, so 2 million euros quarterly, and we will reduce the burden on about something less than 10,000 economic operator over 14,000, the present 14,000. So it's a huge reduction. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because of time, we have to move on, but if you have questions afterwards, just go to Maria. So the next presenter is Liana Tessus Ipel from Statistics Netherlands, and she's presenting user experience in Intrastat, EDAP at Statistics Netherlands. So.
So good morning, everyone. So I'm very much aware that I'm between you and coffee, so I'll try to keep it brief. I'll share something of our experience that we have about the Reflux system of the IDAP, the Intrastat data entry package. So you'll only see 2 names on this slide, but I just want to let you know that this work has been done by many colleagues from Statistics Netherlands. So I'll briefly show you the Reflux system again. So Anna Pernille already showed you some, so I'll give an impression and I'll leave it up to you whether that's a positive or a negative one. I'll show you a little bit about the study design to evaluate the system. So as already mentioned before, the Netherlands has chosen to develop a new system, and we wanted to, well, take the strength from the IDEP system that was already there and try to get rid of the weaknesses that they had. And I'll briefly go over the new system that we're currently developing, and I really would love your input there. So let's get going. So when businesses log into the system, this will be the first page that they will see. And admittedly, the first time I saw the system, it took me more than 10 minutes to find the start option, which is actually, I'm not kidding, here. So it's quite difficult to find. As you can see, there are many colors in the system. There's a lot of information present here, with all good intentions, but probably a little bit difficult to find for businesses. Once they found out where they needed to start, then this is how the structure looked like. Sorry, this is all in Dutch, but well, basically, depending on where your cursor is placed, there will be different information here, different menu options available, which was confusing to say the least. So here they will find all the different questionnaires for the different periods that they could look into. So they could also upload, and the upload function is present right here. Actually, many businesses struggle to find the upload function. Once they do it manually, they can go to this detail system where they have to enter the details. As Hannah Pernille already showed, a lot of values they need to fill in with, again, a lot of beautiful colors and warnings, and well, there's a lot of information here. And then they could get an overview of the data they entered so far. So if a business would have entered data, then you would see multiple lines here present with all the transactions. And once done, they could go to the send option and be done. So what we've done to look into the strengths of the IDEF system, we have a study design, and we first started with the information that was already out there, because we have done multiple pre-tests and feasibility studies regarding the IDEF system. So first we looked into what do we already know about the IDEF study. And there were a lot of positive points, actually. So the content of the questionnaire, it was quite clear. So once they know what to do, then basically that first step in Turangero's model that Ger already showed us yesterday. So the comprehension part is not necessarily the issue. However, then using the questionnaire. So it gives us, well, to do the same thing in various ways. This is both a curse and a blessing. What is really appreciated is the upload function, if they can find it. It has a lot of consistency checks, and there's a Dutch and an English version, because we've learned from respondents that a lot of them have actually extended these activities to, for instance, foreign countries like India. So it's really nice that it's also available in English. And what businesses mentioned in 2015 already is give us time to prepare, to make sure that we know what to do, which data to collect, and how we have to enter it. I'm afraid to say that also with the new system, we won't be able to give them 1 year in advance, but we are looking into how can we help businesses prepare for the new system. Then the qualitative study. So we did both the qualitative study and a quantitative study with Paradata that Corina already showed what's already possible to do with Paradata. So thank you for that. I don't need to introduce that anymore. So we had a design where we had 2 different types of interviews. So we had 7 one-hour interviews with some of our large cases units. During these interviews, we covered all the questionnaires that are currently in the IDEF system, which are international trade in goods, in services, but also the finance of large enterprises. So we covered all these questionnaires, really talked to them. What's your process? How do you do that? Who do you need to actually fill out this questionnaire? And we had 24 very short interviews with smaller businesses where we only covered international trading goods and really asked them, what do you appreciate about the current system? What are your wishes for another system once you're going to develop that? And we learned loads from these conversations. So then I'll go over the paradata, and while discussing the results, I'll also use the qualitative study. So just to give a short description, we had a file consisting about 9 million records of the paradata, almost 7 million records on international trading goods of about 21,000 units. And the session was defined as, well, basically once they log in and, well, until they log out, either due to timeout or because they logged out themselves. We had to say that it used to be policy at Statistics Netherlands that paradata was deleted after half a year. So we only have data for about half a year. That policy, luckily, is removed right now. Okay, so this sort of resembles the data that was already shown by Hannah Pernilla. So on the left-hand side, you see how the businesses are reporting in IDAP. And you see that, well, when they only have up to 9 rows of data, the most people will do that by hand, which is indicated by this orange reddish color. And well, we really happy to see is if they have to apply more data, then they will move towards the upload system. So that's a good sign. And also on the right-hand side, you can see how the distribution of number of records is divided. And you see that about half the population have to enter less than 40 rows, basically. But this is a very skewed distribution. So some are really up to the limits of the IDA system, which is about 200,000 rows. Yes, there were business. And so the reasons that we asked businesses, like, why do you use either manual or the upload function? One of the reasons is that they could not find the upload function, or they did not know how to use it. And this is basically for 2 reasons. Either they don't know how to get the data efficiently out of their own system, or, and this was quite frustrating for us to learn, is they have it in a spreadsheet and then they are manually typing over to get the data into ISTAT because they don't know or don't dare to upload in the system because they are either afraid of making mistakes or they don't get the file organized in a proper way. So there's really some work to do there. Just wanted to give you a brief overview of things that we found in the paradata. So I highlighted a few. So the time is in minutes, and I just last night discovered that. So I saw like, there's 0.99 in there. How did that happen? So that means it's about 1 minute. So I'll update this slide before publishing. So what we found out is, for instance, that about 1 minute they take of looking at this overview of all the periods that is showed in the beginning. And what they do here is that they compare the aggregated results which are on this page. And they compare what they have submitted right now. Is this in line with what they have done previously? So this is a sort of global check that they do. They also spent some time looking at the questionnaire overview, so the current period, and how that is, like checking is it complete. What I found quite striking is how much time they spent on editing a record. So this is both entering a record, but also editing an existing record. And what we found here is that they are often timing out on this page, and this is due to asking colleagues or other people or finding the results to find the correct data to enter. They spend about a minute at the landing page, probably looking for how to start, and I'll just skip the rest for this time. So another thing we found quite interesting is how many questionnaires they open during one session, and this was quite remarkable, is that they look at several questionnaires actually during one session. So that could either be because they have to edit something from previous months, or they are copying, for instance, ID numbers or things from previous records. So I added 2 quotes that we hear. So I hope I'm not offending Belgium here. So the first one was something that an accountant mentions, like, every hour that I work for a customer needs to be paid. So I don't have the time to invest to figure out how to do this in a more efficient way. They have one routine, they stick with it because that's what they know. The other one was about the fact that the IDEP system works quite well. It's like in Belgium, you have to be an IT person. This person was definitely not very data or digitally savvy, and he was really happy about, like, okay, I have established this routine, it works, and in